Hey, what's up, people? It's like Love, creating author of the blog, The Viable Alternative, which is an inspirational blog where I gotta talk slow. Inspirational blog where I share the wisdom and insights gained along my path of becoming a greater, stronger version of myself. Because I got the sharp pain. And if you want to read more on the blog, you click on the window where it says Show More, and you see a link to www.theviablealternative.com. So, hello! I have not done an actual talk to you video in a long time, other than the underwear, the videos I have sharing the progress of my underwear line. But I apologize for that. But why I'm coming today is because, excuse me, a YouTube subscriber reached out to me and he wanted me to share with me my experience of doing body-oriented therapy and what I got out of it. And so, yeah, he wanted to know how it helped me. So I thought that I'd share my experience of body-oriented therapy and what it's all about. So you know about the traditional therapy, psychotherapy, where you go to a therapist with a certain type of problem, and he or she sits there and helps you come to a resolution with the problem by helping you analyze it, find its origins, and yeah, basically break down the problem 51 ways till Sunday. Problem is this: I've seen this in life that people, they go to the therapist with alcohol issue, or some of them are have anxiety, or some of them have a bunch of stuff. What do people go to a therapist? They're going through a divorce, or they have daddy issues or mommy issues, whatever, and they go to the therapist. And 15 years later, they're still going to therapist, know everything about the problem, but they still haven't gotten better. So that's regular therapy, and that's a problem, actually. That's why I didn't go to regular therapy. Body-oriented therapy involves talk therapy, but it also involves body work, breath work, and core emotional release. And the reason why I think that body-oriented therapy works better is because it takes into account the emotions that you are trapped in your body and helps you process them, whereas traditional therapy does not do that. Because here's the thing: we grow up as kids. And number one, we are totally dependent for life and death on to our parents. Our parents can basically kill us. They could, because we're totally born totally helpless. And I think as kids, we are quite aware of that. So, number one, it's that issue that, yes, that we're quite aware that we depend on parents on life or death. So that's the first thing. Second thing as kids is that we're very immature, so we misinterpret things all the time. Our parent disappears in the supermarket for 10 seconds and we don't see it. We start crying because they think they abandoned us or ran off. And sometimes parents do that, but thankfully that's rare. And we don't think, oh, it just went away for 10 seconds. We think, oh my gosh, my parents are not there. And then kids are also very narcissistic. We interpret everything. We interpret everything to be our fault. So our parents argue, it's our fault. Parents divorce, it's our fault. Father abandons the family, it's our fault. So therefore, we're set up to receive a lot of trauma. Now, let's take things back. If a friggin' she-bear barricaded itself, or marauded through this kitchen here where I'm sitting right now, I will think I'm going to die, because likely I will if the she-bear gets a hold of me. I literally will have a life or death situation. And if I survive the situation, I will have post-traumatic stress disorder, unless I properly process the emotion. I would have feelings of terror. And what will happen now, if I hear a loud noise or something like that reminds me of the situation, I will relive the situation over again. So let's take things back to childhood. Given what I shared already, that a child is immature and that it misinterprets stuff and depends on parents for life or death. So imagine a parent disappearing in a supermarket for 10 seconds. The child thinks it's going to die. Think about what emotions go through the child when he thinks he's going to die. That's emotional trauma. Or parents argue, or, like I said, father abandons the family, kid thinks it's his fault. Shame and guilt are inside the body, and that's what now exists now, is the emotion of shame or guilt. Or the parent yells at the kid. Parent yells at the kid. Kid thinks, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I'm going to lose him. My parent yells at me. So that emotion of shame exists inside the body, or something happens where the parent takes away a toy. The kid becomes very angry because the toy was taken away by the parents, when the parent may have taken it away because it was dangerous or something like that, So these emotions are now what, these are all emotionally traumatic situations for the child. And the child does not, forget, adults don't know how to process emotion. So you don't think a child know how to process emotion. So these things get stuck. These things just wind up being trapped in the body of the child. And the child may not be, obviously doesn't may not remember what happened. It may not be aware of the emotion, but the emotion is still there. What will happen as a kid gets older is that the emotion, number one, the emotion is still there and will come up, and it will manifest as uncomfortable situations to the child, and the child will react, and that child will grow up in an adult who has these emotions in them that come up from time to time, and the person reacts. That's why you see a lot of people, they drink, or they have drinking problems, they do excessive shopping, or they're workaholics. Most of the time, the time people do this and they have these compulsive behaviors that they engage in is because they're trying to avoid the uncomfortable feeling of this emotion that they had way back during childhood that they're trying to suppress the feeling of, right? Now, what also happens is this. When we have a situation that we had gone through as a child that had this emotion, similar events, smells, or whatever that happened during the time the event took place can trigger that memory, or trigger the emotion that will bring up that memory, or trigger you that will bring up that feeling, that emotion again, as if you're reliving that situation again, and you're going through the same thing as it happened to you when you were 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old. So what I'm getting at is that a lot of the things that we go through all have to do with the initial emotion. For instance, now I had a friend who had an alcohol problem. She had a drinking problem, and what happened is that she tried kicking alcoholism for a number of years. She went to Alcoholics Anonymous and stuff like that. She fell off the wagon, so finally she had gone to a drug counselor. And the drug counselor was helping her out. She was on the wagon, but she noticed when my friend was on the wagon, not drinking, she was working out 7 days a week. And when she started drinking again, she stopped working out. So the drug counselor, in her wisdom, because most of the time I don't hear drug counselors noticing this, the drug counselor says, oh, you have a lot of trauma. It's something you're trying to avoid, because look, when you're not drinking, you're working out 7 days a week. There's something you've gone through. And it turned out that my friend was sexually abused throughout her childhood. And those feelings of terror and shame and feeling all disgusting and yucky because someone is touching you, those emotions were trapped in her body. And they were still coming up and manifesting themselves, but, they were manifesting on a subconscious level. So what she was doing was drinking alcohol to numb those emotions. So this is what and why regular therapy only reaches a certain point. I think it's a good starting point. If you're the type of person, they say us men are like this. We don't really like to talk about our problems, talk about our issues. We like to, be the strong, silent type, So therapy is often talk therapy, psychotherapy. The traditional therapy is often a good start if you're not used to talking about your problems. But I think after a while, you have to now deal with the emotional component of them. And that's because, think about it like this. You can talk. You get the drift. But if you're not dealing with the emotions of the issue you're trying to get addressed at the therapy session and you're going to therapy, you're going to be 15 years, like I said earlier, going to therapy, and there's no resolution because the emotion is still there, and the emotion's there that's triggering the thoughts, that's triggering the behavior, that's triggering, behavior that you're engaging in due to that emotion. So That's why that you have to go to some type of therapy that deals with the actual emotion that's causing your behavior. That's the root of your behavior. Because you also think about it like this. A lot of the incidents that happened to us where we were traumatized happened a lot of times before we had language. So we're talking here in our adults understanding of stuff, but the child that went through that exact motion did not have the language yet. So because the child didn't have the language, a lot of the ways it related to the world was through its emotions. So in order to now heal and take that emotion, because what has to happen is this: you have to reach that emotion, and that emotion now has to be processed. The emotion has to be processed by either giving it an outlet or connecting to the child that went through the emotion and actually seeing the world through the child's views, and actually now adding, being able to reparent the child or actually help the child process the emotion the way it should have been processed had, had it had the proper knowledge of how to do so. You know what I mean? So I started with body oriented therapy with that understanding that, talking can only go so far, and I needed to reach my emotions and everything. So I know I spent like 10 minutes of giving you a background. So yeah, I did a little therapy when I was in college. I did a little therapy in college because I was suicidally depressed and setting dates for my suicide. So I did actually go to a college. I did actually go to a college campus therapist, because I remember I was thoroughly depressed, and I wanted to give me, and I was like 19 years old. I wanted him to give me depression meds, and I told him about my life story. And if you want to hear more about that, you can watch my very first two YouTube videos. I'll put a link on there. Well, this is my second YouTube video I did. I talk about all that. But after two videos, he was just like, dude, you're 19 years old. You're a teenager. This is the age you go through this angst. I can give you depression meds, but I don't really think that, you're going to be fine. And frankly, especially, I did take depression meds for about a month. And after that, I just felt better, and I never really went back to them ever again. But I think the therapist at the time in college, he meant well, but I had a lot of deep issues that I needed addressing. And I mean, it manifests itself through the years. Like from commitment issues to being very insecure to getting stuck in my head all the time. I mean, I had money issues, scarcity. So, but for a number of years, I didn't. I just didn't think I needed to go to therapy, because the last time I got to therapy before I started therapy at the age of 39, I didn't think I needed therapy. I just thought that I can read self-help books and I can figure out my problems on my own. I frankly thought that I was smarter than a lot of therapists out there, because I was like, who can know better than me? Who can know better? Who can know more about me than me? Who can know better about me than me? So I completely refused to go to therapy, even though I needed to. Um, Starting in my early 30s, I was actually went the spiritual route, and I had something called spiritual deliverance, which think about that movie, The Exorcist, where dark, for the sake of you who may not understand the language, dark forces, I'll say, it depends on the spiritual walk. If you're a Christian, you understand demonic spirits are cast out of you. If you're another spiritual walk, you can say dark energies or whatever. I went through that, and I say that stuff is real. That stuff is real. It's not child's play. I'm telling you now, as a person who was born in the West, all that stuff is real. I started going through that, I think 2007, and that actually cleared up a lot of the blockages I had in my mind, and it helped me. I went through that for about 5-6 years. A lot of the mental blockages that made me trapped in my head, it really helped through that. But I still had issues. And what made me decide to start going to body oriented therapy was that I remember I was involved with this woman, and I was having these severe bouts of anxiety that were paralyzing me. And finally, I remember I was standing I was at my parents' house, standing in the kitchen, and I remember being seized by this anxiety. And I remember stopping, and all of a sudden, like my body started trembling. I started like literally, like I was vomiting these energies out, and as I was vomiting these energies out, like I was like it was just coming out, like it's like an energy was coming out of me, and like my mind started clearing again because I was so paralyzed by anxiety I couldn't think straight. And after I like came became present again, some deep still that still deep inner voice of God said to me, a lot of these dark forces that have been tormenting your life are a result of your emotional wounds. Your emotional wounds are a launching pad for these things to start having influence in your life. And the influence of my life, of course, is what I was, anxiety, and I had commitment issues with women, financial scarcity, still getting trapped in my head, not to the extent that I was before I went to spiritual deliverance, but all these stuff was going on. And so I said, well, in my head, I said, to this deep still voice, well, what do I do? I mean, how do I deal with this? And it was that point I knew I needed to go through therapy, but I didn't want to go to traditional therapy. So I remembered that I had a number. 5 years early, I had wound up ripping off a number. I saw in the middle of the city. I was living in New York. I ripped off a number that said Body Oriented Therapy, and I thought it was interesting. I said, one day I'll call them, and I just put it on my desk, and it stayed on my desk for about maybe 4 years. And I went and I found the number and I called and I started actually going to Body Oriented Therapy. So that's my journey and how I got to it. So Body Oriented Therapy has, number one, helped me get in touch with my emotions. As someone reaches out to me now, of course. Body Oriented Therapy has helped me get in touch with my emotions. To the extent now that if I am now like feeling anxious, or I'm stuck in my head, or I'm feeling self-conscious, I immediately ask myself, okay, I'm spinning off in my head, but what's causing this? What am I feeling in my body? What's going on in my body? And if I'm able to now come to a place and sit down, I'm able to now feel the emotion in my body, find out what it is, like what is it? Like I find out, okay, what is it? Where does it come up? Is it anger? Is it fear? Is it sorrow? And I connect to it and I feel it. I feel where is it is in my body. Because first, the type of emotion, okay, excuse me, let me start off again. I feel the emotion in my body. It could be in my arm, it could be feel in my leg, and I physically connect to it. And I find out, I mean, I know what the emotion is, like whether it's anger or whatever, and I actually physically go and address it. I give it an outlet. So if my thoughts in my head, if I'm thinking a certain way and I'm angry about it, I feel what it is in my body, and I may now clench my teeth, go in private, of course, Or if I'm sad, I sometimes feel the sorrow in my body, and I feel just the sorrow. And if I have a need to, sometimes tears come out, you cry. Sometimes you just have to sit down and allow yourself to grieve and just feel sad. And then usually the thought loops in my head dissipate and disappear. Or so it's helped me to process a lot of the emotions now, so that I'm not just helpless. Like, because for years, like if I get caught in my head, you're freaking out about something, you're ruminating about something that happens over and over and over and over and over again. I have better tools now to deal with stuff like that when they come up. Also, what body oriented therapy has done for me, actually, it's gotten me in touch with myself. Because I remember, I write the blog, The Viable Alternative. I didn't start writing that blog regularly. I used to do it maybe once a week. About maybe 2-3 months after I started therapy in 2014, I started blogging once a week. I could never have that internal connection with myself to blog once a week, to write freely. I was never able to have that until I started therapy. because I guess certain emotions were cleared, that I was able to get in touch with a certain aspect of myself that was connected to writing, and I was able to now to express myself clearly. Also, body oriented therapy has actually helped. It's helped me. I'm trying to put this. How do I put this? Body oriented therapy has helped me. It's helped me believe and have more faith that everything is going to work out. It's actually helped me like surrender more. It's helped me surrender and just believe that in the greater, you call it the universe, I say God, but that everything's going to work out for me. Um, what happens is because when you have these emotions cleared out of you, when it cleared in you, cleared within, you're able to feel more of who you are internally. And, they say God is within. You're able now to connect to that. And when you're doing that, you're able to feel a general sense that, okay, even when you're in like the midst of stuff going on, you're able to feel that, okay, everything's going to work out. You feel kind of taken care of. You know what I mean? Um, Body oriented therapy is also, body oriented therapy actually has given me the belief in myself to take actually steps and action and things I've done. I went on a trip to Europe in 2017, and that was definitely, I used to complain and bitch for years that I don't get to travel because I don't have the money. But body oriented therapy, because I went through a very difficult, trying situation in 2016, it was a very difficult situation. A lot of stuff had gone on in 2016. But because I was going through therapy, I was able to go to my therapist and bring my problems to my therapist and be able to process them. And it brought me a certain amount of healing that I was able to see clearer. And I started saying, oh, wow, I want to do this. I want to do this. I want to do this. So it got me to start taking bolder steps in life, something I was not able to do without before taking body oriented therapy. Stuff that like took a leap of faith for me to go and do. I was able to do with body oriented therapy. For instance, now when I had a plan to go to Europe, I really had no money. I was just like, yeah, I was in a financial like the valleys and troughs. Is that what you call it? Peaks and valleys. I was in a financial valley. But I said, F this. I am freaking going to Europe. And I made it happen. And I was able just to garner the fortitude, to garner the resources and things like that so that I can go to Europe. You know what I mean? And so from going to Europe, it gave me a greater belief in myself, that the fact that I actually I accomplished that trip, which gave me a greater self belief. So I would say the benefits I've gotten from body oriented therapy is, number one, being able to. I'm definitely I have a lot more emotional intelligence. So if I'm freaking out about something, I'm like, okay, um, where's the emotion, and how do I deal with emotions so I can stop freaking out? When I was involved with this, I was dating a woman last year, and I overreacted something. I'm like, okay, this has nothing to do with her; it's me. And where is this coming from? So it gave me a lot more emotional intelligence, a lot of more emotional availability, because when I was dating this woman, I was able to communicate to her what I was feeling, where it came from, and not in a bitchy, whiny way, like, yeah, you hurt my feelings, yeah, not like that. But I was like, all right, I feel this way, and blah blah blah, and I know how to take care of myself, you know what I mean? And she really respected me for that. That was a result of body oriented therapy. Body oriented therapy has given me a greater sense of myself, such that now I can be more authentic in situations. Body oriented therapy has given me such a sense of myself that I can take bigger, bolder steps in life. Body oriented therapy has given me a greater sense of myself, in that I can tap into, I was able to tap into some of my creative urges that led to me launching this men's underwear line. Body oriented therapy has also actually given me a greater and better relationship with a woman, actually. I didn't leave that out. Uh, I can connect to women more, and a lot of women trust me more, and I have a lot more female friends now, on a deeper level than I had before because of body into therapy, and I'm more emotionally intelligent, and more emotionally available. I have a good bunch of amount of female friends who, people say, "Oh, your friends don't know." Some of these female friends that hook me up with other girls and giving me advice. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it really, and it's not like a friendship where I'm trying to use them. It's like a genuine friendship I have with these women. I have a genuine friendship. It's helped me connect with women on a deeper level now, because I feel that women are able to trust me more because of this connection. Uh, um, what else? What else? And this phone is ringing. It's very distracting. So, yeah, that's what up. And also, Body Oriented Therapy has given me the confidence to do these videos. Before I started Body Oriented Therapy, I completely refused to do any of these videos. Um, it's just given me ability just to be like present and free flow and just talk. You know what I mean? So I would oh, so yeah, I did Body Oriented Therapy for almost 5 years, and I left it because I felt that it was time to take a different turn in my life, a different go to a different, take a different, yeah, take a different turn in my life. And so therefore I actually picked up from there. I do now network chiropractic care because I realized that, like I said, our body holds emotions. It holds emotional trauma. I felt that I needed now to go to network chiropractic care, which is uh, network chiropractic care is basically it's different than traditional chiropractic care, but I'm not going to get into it now, but I'll get to another video. But basically, network chiropractic care is basically straight on body work, and I'm simplifying this greatly because if this video is going too long. But it's direct body work to help your body release the trauma it's held, and I can explain it in another video. I've only been doing that for 4 or 5 months, so the results are still. I have some results, but I want to give it more time before I really talk about it. But anyway, so that was the effects I've had through body into therapy. So what I think is if you have stuff like social anxiety and stuff like that, body oriented therapy, what it will do, it will help you get in touch with the emotion that correspond to the thoughts that you have about your emotional anxiety, excuse me, your social anxiety. Whatever things that's going through your head that's giving you social anxiety, body oriented therapy is going to get you in touch with the emotion that's dealing with it, whatever issue you have. And then it's going to help you now start to release the emotion. Start to release the emotion, give an outlet to the emotion. And as you release the emotion, those thoughts that are triggered by the emotion are going to decrease in intensity, and you're going to be able to express yourself more socially. And that goes for whatever other issue you're dealing with. It's kind of like the peeling of layers of an onion. It's kind of like when I first walked into the office of the body oriented therapy practitioner. I remember I just wanted him to be like, I walked in there and I was just like, all right, just give me several insights, do some body work so I can be rich now. And he's like, no, dude, it doesn't work like that. Because one of the reasons why I went in there was for anxiety and also went for to deal with my financial issues, and which I still have, but it definitely has given me more of an abundance mentality, and it's definitely, I understand the emotional root of it, but it's definitely helped in other areas. I went to buy into therapy for my financial issues, but it helped in other areas. But anyway, he said that you have to peel the layers off. And at that time, I just was about my thoughts. So he helped me through really analyzing the thoughts. We started to connect to the emotion. And as we connected to the emotion, we started peeling off the emotion, which gave me understanding what thoughts it triggered, which went back to the emotion. And as we released the emotions, the intensity of the thoughts started lessening and everything like that. And I got into deeper aspects of who I was, and I gained parts of myself back that were taken away by the emotional trauma. So I hope all this helps. And if you have any questions about the body and therapy, if I kind of ramble too much and everything like that, let me know. But if you want to read any more of my blog, which I talk a lot about the different therapy I've gone through, well, the different stages of therapy I've gone through over the years, you can peruse the blog. There are posts about it. But if you want to read more on my blog, go to www.theviablealternative.com. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on like. And I think I've said everything. Oh my gosh. Why was I like this? See, that's another issue. Why am I? You notice my shoulders were up like this. I'm probably avoiding some emotion in my body by tensing my body, right? So key is not to connect to the emotion. What am I holding or trying not to feel by keeping my shoulders tense up like this? There's some emotion I'm uncomfortable with that needs to be processed. As I put my shoulder down, I felt some sadness. So there's probably some sadness I was trying not to feel, which made me clench my body and my shoulders. That's the emotional intelligence I have from taking Body Centered Therapy. Anyway, take care, God bless, and peace.